Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah and week before Christmas and Kwanzaa and anything else that you might be celebrating this month, especially to those who are celebrating this coming week. And I'd like to welcome you to my story hour. I'm Kathy Ramsperger. I'm a lifelong journalist. I'm a humanitarian and author of the award-winning The Shores of Our Souls and the upcoming, I'm so excited about it, 1,000 Flying Things. I'm also a coach who founded Ground One and created Step Into Your Story. I'm here to connect people like you, both readers and writers who love books. And today is going to be a little bit different on Story Hour. I'm not having any guests. I decided that kind of last week because my month was getting away from me in other ways. And it's going to be in 3 parts. It might not be as long, but I hope it will be quality over quantity. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about the connection between ghost stories and Christmas that you might not know about. My second part is for everyone who might not be looking forward to going home for the holidays, or even more for those who don't really feel like home is home or don't have a home to go to. And finally, I'll share a bit of a Christmas tradition for me over the past few years, my poem to all the moms out there and all those that nurture children for other moms, the grandmothers, the aunties, the big sisters, all of you, and those who might not be blood related, anybody who's tying the ribbons and putting up the decorations and baking the cookies and making this time of year magical for children. So to begin, we're off. Did you know that American Gothic fiction owes its origins to Victorian England, and that those ghost stories, the Gothic, told mostly at Christmas gatherings, believe it or not, got their origins from the Celtic tradition of storytelling, especially oral storytelling? I'm going to put a couple of links down below in the comments. We're not taking any questions this time, but I'm very, very happy you're here and will answer anything that you put in there, but I won't be answering them live because I've got a lot of bells and whistles going on here today. But I'll put a link to some interesting articles about this Christmas tradition of telling spooky tales, ghost stories around a fire during the Christmas holidays. And I wanted to read one of them, and I will read an excerpt in just a minute. But they were longish because people had the time to listen, and we don't have that kind of time on a Facebook Live. They didn't have Facebook Live back then. People had time to listen on a holiday when everything was closed and buttoned up tight for a day and a night and a day, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So they had all the time in the world to sit with their families and tell these stories. Plus, winter solstice had something to do with it, the lack of sun, pre-electricity, pre-heating, when the choice was either going to bed or staying up late together, which was precious time, even if you were a well-to-do farmer or business owner in the Victorian times. Work ethic was strong and poverty was high. And Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol is just one of the most popular examples, which has endured to this day. I think it's because it's full of ghosts, and it also has a moral. Spooky stories gave people something to do before TV, and it brought family and community together. They'd sit and huddle by the fire before they had heat and electricity, as I said. And stories could be told whether you could read or write or not. It was for the literate and the illiterate. And you'd be amazed at how many people did not read during the 1800s around the world. So I feel so privileged to be able to pick up a book and enter a world through words. So these stories began to be printed around the time people started to become more literate, and they were sold as gifts around Christmas in Victorian England. And then, to make it a little more personal to me, my family brought them over when they immigrated to the States in the 1700s and the 1800s. And boy, my family love a good ghost story any time of year, Christmas, Halloween, and otherwise. We love to tell each other scary stories. So the one I chose is just a little excerpt from something called The Kit Bag. It was a little later. It was published in 1908 by Algernon Blackwood. And this is my favorite part, and it's obviously somebody else's favorite part because it was excerpted in another blog. It is difficult to say exactly at what point fear begins, when the causes of that fear are not plainly before the eyes. Impressions gather on the surface of the mind, film by film, as ice gathers upon the surface of still water, but often so lightly that they claim no definite recognition from the consciousness. Then a point is reached where the accumulated impressions become a definite emotion, and the mind realizes that something has happened. With something of a start, Johnson, that's the protagonist, suddenly recognized that he felt nervous, oddly nervous. Also, that for some time had passed, and the causes of this feeling had been gathering slowly in his mind, but that he had only just reached the point where he was forced to acknowledge them. I love that. And there's a very real ghost story here. His boss has convicted a man of murder, and he is about to go skiing in the mountains, which I'm thinking is France or Germany or Switzerland. So I really would look that one up. I'm leaving the link below. So whether you're telling a ghost story or you're telling another story, a family story, or a childhood story, or a travel story, I hope you're around a fire telling a story at some point this month. It's very appropriately precipitating and cloudy and cold today here. And I know we have snow all across the United States. I'm thinking that it's probably in many other parts of the world. I hope you're staying warm, and I hope you're staying with somebody you love, and I hope you're sharing stories. So here's part 2. I am hoping you will enjoy a little passage about Diana's Christmas home from The Shores of Our Souls, except that it ended up on the cutting room floor. And why? I didn't have enough pages for it, and the dates didn't mesh. I wanted this to take place no more than 2 years, and it was very difficult to have them meeting in the fall and then having them close by Christmas. So I let it go. I transmuted a little part of it, but I basically let it go. But what this passage is, I think it says a lot about why Diana behaves as she does, whether you empathize with her or not. And so it was a hard one to put on the cutting room floor, and I'm happy to share it with you today because I hope you read both my books that are about my protagonists, Diana and Kasim, who fall in love accidentally and stay in love. And it doesn't matter how many oceans separate them, they remain that way. at least through 2 books. And I'll leave you with the question, what would you do if you couldn't be with the one you loved? It would probably depend. But I would love if you thought about that this Christmas too. And it could be that you're not. And you might enjoy my book because of that. So Diana has to choose between fulfilling her dreams or going home to care for family in a more traditional way. That sounds like an easier decision than it is. Diana's backstory is that she's been abused and has become a bit of a loner because of it, but she's still trying to care for her family financially, and she still loves them. And she has to make that choice, and so does Kasim. And that's a major thing that they have in common. What perhaps brings them together and ultimately has the potential to tear them apart. You'll have to read the books to find out if it does and why. So see, it's very much from the cutting room floor, manuscript pages. And Diana's just gotten home for the holidays. She's left her job in New York City at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It's a very low-level research position, prestigious, but doesn't pay much, doesn't give her much of an ability to think outside the box. So even so, she's not exactly excited to go home. There's a lot of problems she's going to face and have to take care of when she gets there. Her sister, she's the eldest, the second oldest, Marianne, who's a no nonsense, take care of things kind of young woman, and her brother, TC, who's still in college and she's putting him through school, meet her. And she's told them that she might not come home ever again. I don't mean for a visit, but come home to take care of them ever again. Don't worry about us, we'll be fine, Marianne says. They're at the truck now. Marianne gets behind the wheel, turns the engine over a few times until it catches, and drives them through the streets. Every lamppost has a gold tinsel star on it, save one. The star on this one hangs precariously, halfway between heaven and earth, its tinsel unraveling in the sunny winter wind. How long are you here for, Diana? TC chimes in. Oh, I need to be back in New York by the 29th. I have an office party on New Year's Eve. Business. Well, at least you'll have Christmas, Marianne says, and switches on the radio, full of static and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yes, Christmas, Diana replies, but her mind is already launched toward departure and freedom. She wants to go someplace warm, no hot, so hot she can wear sandals and subject her fragile skin to death by UV rays. So the second passage is from Christmas Day. And this takes place in Burlington, North Carolina, or near there. The three siblings sit around the dining room table, cramped without its leaves, stored long and forgotten. Torn red and gold wrapping paper creates a helter-skelter yet bright centerpiece. They've eaten roast chicken instead of ham to save money. Diana pushes her plate over a hole that's working its way into the seam of the tablecloth. They've exchanged gifts, candy, a wallet, some mediocre cologne. Now they wait for their mother to figure out it's Christmas. She has Lewy body dementia, and time to open her 4 gifts. They're always the same: dusting powder from Marianne, a scarf from TC, a book of poetry from Diana. This year, Diana splurged and bought a discounted sweater at Macy's. Open your gifts, Mama, Marianne urges. Their mother looks around the room, everywhere except at the small pile of gifts in front of her. Diana pushes the box containing the sweater closer. Here, she says, and Marianne gives her a look. She doesn't know how her sister can deal with her mother day in, day out. She's been here less than a week, and she feels taut like an overused piano string. She's already picked out all the raisins from her mother's bran flakes. She always has to have them picked out. In addition to serving her chicken, potatoes, and green beans, they'll need to make a grocery run tomorrow to stock up on all the toilet paper their mother stuffed down the sink when their attention was on cooking. Mama pulls the curly ribbon up and down, up and down. She looks as though she might fall out of her seat. "Open it, Diana," TC whispers, so Diana does. "Macy's," Mama exclaims. "That's a ritzy store. I never thought I'd get a gift from Macy's." "Well, I never." "It's a sweater," Diana says, pulling it out and draping it around her mother's shoulders. "Beautiful, beautiful," Mama murmurs, and she picks up the Macy's box and rubs it against her cheek like fine velvet. The group smiles its relief. Another Christmas almost over and done. And then December 26th, the next day. Her mother's been driven back to assisted living, and the three siblings are alone in the house now. This is 1981, by the way. She misses Kasim. Here she is amidst her family, and she's all alone. She knows he is away again, too, and this time she's not even certain where he's gone. Her few days at home have brought her slamming back into the reality that is her life. Her fantasies have quickly flown from wedding plans to readiness to breakup. How could he possibly want to be with someone whose family has mountains of debt instead of a dowry? How will she ever pay it down? He could be with anyone, doing anything right now. It may be the best to end this relationship, affair, tryst. Now. Her breath rolls like an amusement park ride. Breathe in, he loves me. Breathe out, he loves me not. Oh, how she misses him. She gave him Marianne's number, and he hasn't called. He's missed Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Maybe he doesn't even remember them. Surely he knows about them. She has the scarf he gave her to prove it. Lebanon is a Christian country too, even if he is not a Christian man. She's not even certain if he's in New York or on a business trip. Maybe best to end this. Yet Diana's breaths do not take into account what she keeps locked in the back of her mind. Kasim may be her green card out of little green card land. She types little green cards to catalog artifacts for the Met. He may be able to help her professionally if she can muster enough gumption to ask. She realizes what the risk is. She's opposed, because of past experience, to mixing work and pleasure. Plus, she could lose him if he felt she were using him to climb the corporate ladder. He could prevent her from advancing her career because he wants her all to himself. Yet how can she tell what this inscrutable, mercurial, albeit charismatic, sometimes affectionate man is capable of? Of course, he could think the same thing about her. Her mind rests on this clincher, which is something that has nothing to do with his decisions and everything to do with hers. If she leaves New York, she may never see Kasim again. It is difficult to decide between love and life. It is even more painful to decide between the road of the mind and the road of the heart. Here on Marianne's tattered sofa, she believes her mind will win. Tomorrow may be different. She gets up and goes to the kitchen, examines each item on the second shelf of the refrigerator, picks up the processed cookie dough a second time, and then feels the disgust seep into her. She can't have this. She has one bite, she'll eat the whole thing, and then she'll have to get rid of it. She pours herself a glass of water instead. Then she returns to the frilly floral sofa, trying not to think, fingering a loose seam. Maybe she should make a phone call, but not to her mother. She hates to bother her friend Sophia. Her roommate Margaret is with her boyfriend. Long distance calls are pricey. Where's Mary Ann? The phone rings as though it's read her mind, and she jumps. So, Kasim asks, what's new? Tell me. A jolt of joy runs through her. Nothing much. That's wonderful. You're having a nice holiday. Wasn't even listening to her reply. It's okay. How is your mother? The same. What's new with you? It seems ages since we last spoke. Diana fishes for some tidbit of information that would impress him. Finds it. I got another poem published right before I left. That's wonderful. I love to read your poetry. Maybe someday. She wants to ask him a dozen questions. She feels too open, vulnerable, sitting here on this couch that used to be Grand's about 3 upholsteries ago. You know where I am right now? Kasim asks, as though he knows she has questions. I have no idea. I'm in the penthouse suite of the Sheraton looking down on the Pacific Ocean. Seabirds are flying right past my window. Pelicans, gulls, terns. The sun is shining on the water as it sets, a million different colors. It sounds like poetry. She smiles, the picture floating in her mind. He laughs. It is like poetry. Some of the colors I can't even pronounce, but they are beautiful English words, those words for colors. He laughs. Again. She giggles back. Most probably. Then it sounds idyllic. It is beautiful, beautiful, he pauses, and she wonders what he's going to say next. She doesn't want to interrupt his thoughts, which seem to be almost a meditation. I wish you were here with me, he adds, a little too abruptly. She hears a sharp intake of breath after the words reach her. It's her own breath. They bounce like the sunlight on the distant Pacific waves, warming the telephone lines that connect them. And then the waves recede, and with them some of her confusion. Who says words don't have the power to change the world, she thinks. Maybe next time, she returns his smile, because she's certain she can hear a smile across the continent. Maybe next time. She waits a long time for Mary Ann to come home. She's asleep when Mary Ann finally returns, and in the morning, the rush for the train station precludes any further conversation. New York seems a world away. Kasim is a nation away, and Mary Ann and TC have all but forgotten her save for her monthly check. At least that's the way it seems. As the train pulls out of the station, Diana feels a surge of release, of letting go, of inexplicable lightness. This is not her home anymore, if it ever was. No, the life she was born for is still out there, somewhere, waiting for her to seize it. A knowing smile plays across her lips and sinks deep within. She closes her eyes to doze, certain in the knowledge her destiny will not be denied. Thank you for listening. And now on to part 3. This has become a bit of tradition since I sent it out in a Christmas letter, holiday letter, and put it up on my blog a few years ago. And as I said, this is for all the moms, people who mother families. At this time of year, I always give silent gratitude to my own mother and grandmothers. They've all passed now, but oh, I had no idea what they went through when I was a kid. And I also remember Mary's first Christmas was anything but easy. Imagine labor and delivery in a barn because you had to leave home to go pay taxes. Or you'd be arrested, I guess. Taxes. Does that sound a bit familiar? So my elf hat is on to her and to all of you. Ta-da! And we'll end with a little bit of mirth. I need to put on my glasses for this one. Thank you so much for listening. 'Twas the day before Christmas, and her husband was hacking. Her grown kids were all tucked up in stairs, napping, dreaming of gadgets and clothing galore. But here it was, all stacked up in piles on the floor. She's given up singing. She's given up dancing. She takes a deep breath. She needs to be rapping. She's about to give up when she hears a sound. It's muffled and gentle because there's snow on the ground. It can barely be heard, or her husband's bad cough, but there it is still, no matter how soft. She starts to wrap candy. She starts to wrap books. Who's she forgotten? That lady in church? What if a neighbor is here for exchange? The way she looks now, she might think she's deranged. She tidies the house and fixes her hair, puts on some blush, runs down the stair. But what to her wondering eyes does appear but Santa himself in some red hot new gear? His eyes, how they twinkle, his dimples, how merry, and the rose in his lips is plum now, not cherry. He's lost some weight since his last visit. He's got so many gifts you can't even list them. And oh, his pecs, how they bulge, how they glow. And he's handing her something tied up with a bow. What's this amazing new gift just for her? She touches it, jiggles it just to make sure. But Santa is nodding. His Superman smile lets her know that he's come just for her through the miles. She pops the bow, can hardly contain it. Santa knows what she wants. It's never too late. Out of the box, it's magic, no hoax. Pops a luxury mattress. How'd he know? He just knows. A card with don't stress, flannel sheets, a tea nightshirt, some pink fuzzy socks, a book and a movie all ready to watch, complete with a password and personal locks. I'll do your chores, he whispers. Don't worry, my dear. I know you deserve it. Just be of good cheer. Santa shows his pecs one last time before he goes and whips around wildly, wrapping boxes with bows, then brings a vacuum out of his sack and cleans it all up, 1, 2, 3 in a blink, and says to her, please, it's not what you think. Hauls the mattress upstairs and tucks her in bed. His lips are still that cool new color of red, gives her a peck on her cheek and then on her noggin, and lays stevia chocolates beside her for morning. Then he calls to his reindeer and disappears without warning. And she hears him exclaim as he flies out of sight, Merry Christmas to moms. This is your night. Relax and renew. You all have the right. You've cooked, slaved, and wrapped for more than 2 centuries. It's time that you gave yourself something. Please hear me. And as she snuggled, she heard his last ho, 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 and knew the next day would be perfect with snow, because her kids would be cranky, her husband still hacking, but all that is fine with her. Yes, just dandy, because she'll be asleep, all alone with her candy. Thank you. For all of you celebrating, I wish you a very, very, very Merry Christmas. I wish all of those celebrating Hanukkah a happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa. And as I said, I hope you're someplace with the people you love for this special time of year. I don't have tea bag wisdom. I just have Tiny Tim this evening. God bless us, everyone. Thank you. So you can join me, like today, every third Thursday at my Facebook page. I'm usually interviewing authors. Today is a little bit different. I read some interesting things about Christmas. I hope you enjoyed having a different take on it. We're broadcasting live today, but if an author's schedule precludes them being live, I'll be here live later when the video plays to answer your questions and comments. Sometimes the author will be there too, so post away. You can find all my interviews archived on my YouTube and my Facebook pages. You can find out more about me and my work at shoresofourSouls.com and groundonecoaching.com. You can sign up and subscribe to my newsletter on both of those pages as well. And here on Story Hour, I concentrate on transformational stories of international interest, multicultural relations, and social justice that all focus on the connections and often disconnections between people. I hope you can join me. Subscribe to my YouTube or to my newsletter. And like I said, you just scroll to find the place to sign up. Next month, I'll be sharing some highlights because I'll be traveling to the Pulpwood Queens Girlfriends weekend, Pulpwood Queens and Timber Guys, and chatting with an amazing Indian author named Anju Gatani, whose book comes out next month. Be sure to listen in. It's going to be a great conversation. And in the meantime, thank you all for another great year. I'm so happy to have Story Hour and you. And again, happy holidays to you and those you love. Peace on earth, I have to say that. And a wonderful beginning and end to 2023. Thank you. Bye.